What happens when a prince runs out of cards? He plays his mother's ghost. That's the shadow now hanging over Prince Harry, once known as the royal family's lovable wild card. Unpolished, yes, unpredictable, certainly, but charming enough to still carry the possibility of a decent, even admirable future. Fast forward to today, and it's less wild card and more self sabotage, like watching a man drift out to sea on a boat he personally set on fire. And at the center of the smoke is a rumor that refuses to die. Harry is considering a Netflix documentary about his late mother, Princess Diana. On paper, it sounds like a tribute, a heartfelt memorial, a son honoring the woman whose shadow he has never truly escaped. But dig beneath the sentiment and the whispers say otherwise. This isn't framed as legacy, it reeks of survival, of cashing in on the last sacred name in the royal deck. Because Diana isn't just Harry's mother, she's Britain's eternal rose, the one figure the public still protects with untouchable reverence. And here's the nuclear part. Diana isn't just Harry's mother, she's William's too. Which means if Harry dares to brand her memory to turn her life into streaming content for personal profit, it isn't just exploitation, it's war. William has kept his silence through book releases, TV specials, and 1,000 headlines, but Diana's memory is holy ground. To cross it is to spark a feud that cannot be walked back, no matter how many staged family photos or polite royal smiles follow. So the question now lingers, is Harry preparing a tribute or loading a weapon? Because when the only card you have left is your mother's ghost, every move you make looks less like love and more like desperation. And when the money runs dry, desperation speaks louder than dignity. That's the unspoken engine behind this rumored Diana project, because Harry and Meghan's finances are not the fairy tale their Montecito mansion suggests. Spotify cut them loose. Netflix has gone lukewarm, and their much-hyped polo documentary landed with all the grace of a horse collapsing mid-race. Deals that were supposed to cement their independence instead evaporated, leaving only the bills. And those bills are brutal. Security alone drains $2 to $3 million a year before factoring in the mortgage, the staff, the legal fights, the PR teams, and the endless lifestyle expenses that never shrink, only grow. Add to that the millions Harry has already bled out, reimbursing Frogmore renovations, losing court battles over royal protection, juggling lawsuits that do nothing but feed lawyers' pockets. It isn't the kind of broke that average people imagine, but in the world of the ultra-rich, where reputation is currency and perception pays the mortgage, it is a slow-motion collapse. The flame that was meant to fuel their California freedom has become a furnace consuming cash at a pace even their royal name can't keep up with. And here's where the pattern becomes painfully clear. Harry and Meghan deny, deflect, insist that the rumors are false, and then months later, the very project they swore off suddenly appears on shelves or on streaming platforms. It happened with Spare. It happened with interviews. Denial, then drop. It's the Sussex playbook, and everyone knows it by now, which is why when they insist there's no Diana documentary in the works, people don't believe a word of it. Because Diana's name is the last untouched card, the final lifeline in a deck that's already been played to exhaustion. And when a man is cornered by debt-dwindling relevance and a fading spotlight, the temptation to reach for that last card becomes almost irresistible. The danger is once it's played, there's no taking it back, and this is where brotherhood collapses. Because Diana isn't just Harry's card to play, she's William's mother too, and her legacy is the one sacred ground both brothers were meant to protect, not divide. William has held his tongue through Spare, through interviews, through Netflix melodrama, but this would be different. Diana isn't another headline to trade for streaming rights. She is the heartbeat of their shared childhood, the wound they both carry, and the memory Britain still reveres. To claim her image for profit isn't just disrespect, it's legacy theft. Imagine the optics: Harry positioned as the grieving son cashing in on sacred grief, while William is forced into the role of silent guardian, the steady protector of their mother's name. It reframes their feud from sibling rivalry into something far more dangerous, a cultural war over who truly owns Diana's story. And in that war, there is no middle ground. Once Harry lays claim to her memory, reconciliation is no longer a possibility. It's scorched earth. Because let's be clear, this isn't about a documentary, it's about control. Control over narrative, over sympathy, over the last fragment of royal magic Harry can still grasp. William has duty, the crown, the institution. Harry has only one thing left: the ghost of Diana. And if he turns her into content, the result won't be healing or history. It will be nuclear fallout. No staged reunion, no polite holiday photo can mend a rift carved on their mother's grave. The moment Harry moves forward with this, William doesn't remain the older brother, he becomes the enemy. And as Harry drifts closer to that nuclear line, the silence around him grows deafening. Allies who once leapt to defend him now keep their distance. Elton John, who once whisked the couple away to his private retreat, hasn't uttered a public word in their defense in years. Longtime friends are quiet. Even sympathetic journalists tread carefully. The absence of support isn't just awkward, it's telling. Because silence in Hollywood and high society isn't neutral, it's a verdict. The public, too, has shifted. Harry was once the prince you could laugh with pint in one hand, rugby ball in the other. Relatable, human. Now he's cast as the bitter outsider, sulking on the California coast, clinging to headlines like they're lifeboats. Even Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell, who knew him as a child, has spoken out describing a boy who was spoiled, petulant, prone to sulking when things didn't go his way. That boy, Burrell warns, never really disappeared, he only grew older and louder. And then there's Meghan, whose influence hovers in every shadow. Harry may be the face, but many believe she's the strategist whispering about the power of image, the profitability of legacy, the way Diana's story could be weaponized for sympathy and control. Meghan, of course, has long been compared to Diana, but the comparison has never landed. Diana's flaws made her human. Her vulnerability made her beloved. Meghan's image, by contrast, often feels curated, scripted, designed for effect. And when she tries on Diana's legacy, it fits like a borrowed dress, expensive, dazzling, but unmistakably ill-suited. Which is why the thought of Meghan narrating or even appearing in a Diana documentary doesn't feel like tribute. It feels like sacrilege. A manufactured echo of a woman who was never manufactured at all. And deep down, everyone knows the difference. And this is where the tragedy turns cruel. Because a Diana documentary wouldn't just fracture a family, it would desecrate the one bond that still united two brothers across oceans and institutions. William the heir has carried the quiet burden of protecting their mother's legacy, refusing to weaponize her memory, even when Harry hurled grenades at their father, their grandmother, their entire institution. But if Harry dares to turn Diana into streaming content, William's silence can no longer hold. It would mark the moment when brotherhood ends and enmity takes its place forever. The palace knows it too. Behind closed doors, there's less fear of what Harry might reveal and more dread of what can never be unsaid once it's out there. Diana was never meant to be a pawn in their feud, never meant to be reduced to a product. She wanted change, yes, but she wanted compassion, not collapse. And that is where Harry and Meghan diverge from her completely. Their game isn't healing, it's control. What makes it even sadder is that Diana can't defend herself. She can't step in to draw the line, can't remind Harry of what she stood for, can't tell Meghan that no borrowed script can replicate her humanity. Her warmth, her vulnerability, her quiet courage, they're being dangled like bait, a last desperate attempt to prop up a brand running on fumes. And so the final irony cuts deep. Harry, once the son who carried his mother's spirit in his heart, now risks turning her into his last financial lifeline. William will protect her legacy. The public will recoil at the exploitation. And Harry, in chasing relevance, may become the very thing Diana never was: cruel. Diana believed in grace in the face of pain. But grace doesn't pay the mortgage. And that may be the saddest line of all.